Yesterday was day 3 in the Casotis trial, and there was some very interesting testimony from the parents of the deceased that in many ways supported the defense's narrative in this case. Hi, Tony DeWitt here. I'm a Missouri appellate attorney, retired, and I bring you a fresh perspective on the law without offering any legal advice. So pull up a chair. This is what we're discussing today. Let me recap the trial for you quickly, and then we'll look at some testimony. Betsy Mabane, who is the mother of Mindi, remembers the moment her world collapsed. Through tears, she told the jury how Nicholas Casotis, the man her daughter lived with, looked her in the eye and said Mindi wasn't coming home. He claimed she had suffered a stroke during what was supposed to be a short hospital stay to control her blood pressure. Days later, he packed up Betsy and her husband's belongings, moved them out of the Savannah home that they had shared with the couple, and settled them into a condo in Hilton Head. Then came the strange emails. First, supposedly from Casotis' security detail, claiming he'd been in an accident, and then another message saying, "Hey, Casotis has passed away." Betsy believed it all right up until May of 2023 when investigators showed up at her door and asked for a DNA sample. That sample proved the unthinkable. The headless torso police had found was Mindi's. Both Betsy and her husband Frank described how their daughter and Casotis seemed constantly on edge. They talked about needing security. Mindi was so afraid she rarely left the house. The couple moved frequently, convinced their lives were in danger, even considering changing their names to Stark. Nick told them he worked for Microsoft after leaving the Navy, and they saw him at his computer, but they never saw paperwork, emails, or anything to prove that. He was secretive about his work, but they trusted him. So when he said Mindi died in the hospital on December 1, they didn't doubt it. He promised a memorial service after the new year, but it never happened, and for obvious reasons. The prosecution's case laid out a chilling timeline. On November 29th, Casotis was caught on camera buying a Milwaukee knife. That was the same kind of knife that was later found near Mindi's torso. The day before, November 28th, a receipt showed he purchased a 7-piece knife set at Bass Pro Shop. On November 4th, he bought a shovel and a hammer, tools prosecutors believe were used to bury Mindi's body parts. And months earlier, on August 16th, he purchased Clorox wipes, latex gloves, and folding razors at Home Depot. A DNA analyst told the court that the knives and the storage totes found at the scene tested positive for human blood, but there wasn't enough recoverable DNA to create a profile. Finally, the landlord who rented the Savannah home to the Casotises described a disturbing detail. When the couple moved out, the rug in the den was gone, replaced with a cheaper rug, similar in pattern, but not the same. So that's a recap of the testimony. And now let's look into a little bit of the actual testimony as well as the cross-examination of these witnesses. One of the first witnesses was the investigator for the district attorney's office, and we find out that, among other things, Nick waived his rights.
And why did you and Agent Sands go to that location?
To attempt to conduct an interview with Mr. Casotis.
When you met with the defendant, did you inform him of any rights?
They were advised to him by Agent Sands.
And in your presence?
That's correct.
I'm showing you now what's marked in states as if 2.19. Can you identify that?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
It's a waiver of rights form.
Pertaining to who?
Nicholas, Killian, James Stark.
And can you inform the jury what rights he was advised of before your interview took place?
Yes, sir. I have the right to remain silent. Anything I say can be used against me in a court of law. I have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with me while I'm being questioned. If I cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent me before any questioning if I wish. I can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements.
Did he appear to understand those rights?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did he indicate whether or not he wished to waive those rights by signing that document?
He did.
Did he do that in your presence?
Yes, sir, he did.
And does this fairly and accurately, is this a copy of the Miranda form that you used to advise the defendant in this case of his Miranda warning rights?
Yes, sir.
And I'll tender at this time State's Exhibit 2.19.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
It is admitted.
If you will, describe the area where this interview took place.
It was in a room inside the prison. There was a table, a couple of chairs, a small window, and a couple of doors.
Was he allowed to be seated?
Yes, sir, he was.
Were you and Agent Sands sitting also?
Yes, sir, we were.
Was the defendant wearing handcuffs?
Not during that time, no, sir.
Did you or Agent Sands have weapons that were visible?
No, sir.
Did you ascertain his level of education?
Agent Sands did, yes, sir.
And what did he report was his highest level of education?
I believe he graduated with his Juris Doctorate.
An attorney?
Yes, sir.
Did he appear to be injured in any way whatsoever?
He did not.
Did he appear to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs to any degree whatsoever?
No, sir, he did not.
Was there anything unusual about his appearance?
No, sir.
Was he cooperative?
He was.
Can you describe his demeanor?
He was very calm, even keeled. He didn't show a lot of emotion, just answered questions and was openly speaking with us.
Did he seem to be aware of the circumstances surrounding this interview?
Yes, sir.
When you spoke to him, were his answers to you and Agent Sands responsive to the questions that were being asked?
Yes, sir, they were.
At any time did he invoke his right to remain silent?
No, sir, he did not.
At any time did he invoke his right to speak only with an attorney present?
No, sir, he did not.
Was there any offer of hope, of reward, or benefit in exchange for him giving the statement?
No, sir, it was not.
Was he promised any leniency in treatment if he gave a statement?
No, sir, he was not.
Was he threatened or coerced in any way whatsoever to give a statement?
No, sir, he was not.
And was this interview recorded?
It was.
How?
Audio recording.
There's no video of this interview?
No, sir.
Now at the end of that, what we find out is that there's no video recording, so there's no way to evaluate his mannerisms or anything like that, but that they do have an audio recording of the actual interview. During the continued questioning of the individual who is the DA investigator, the issue of something brought up the day before with regard to vehicle fires in Ford Explorers came up, and the issue was presented as to whether or not they could get a particular piece of evidence into evidence. And I think the defense counsel here did a really good thing, which is he acknowledged that he may have unintentionally misled the jury into thinking that the recall that was at issue affected all of the Ford Explorers, and apparently it did not affect the one with this particular VIN number. And as a result, they had this conversation outside the presence of the jury.
All right, everyone, please be seated. Yes, sir, Mr. McCollum.
So this will be simpler than I anticipated. Mr. Hershey yesterday was asked about a vehicle recall. He was asked, are you familiar that in August of 2024, Ford recalled 85,000 Ford Explorer SUVs for engine fires over the period of manufacture from 2020 to 2022? My intent was to tender this State's Exhibit number 2.52 that we obtained from the internet. I believe that's where the information came from. And it's my understanding that Mr. Weinstein will not object to me tendering this as an exhibit.
And just to clarify, I don't recall exactly where that information came from that I got yesterday, but I do not object to the state tendering this exhibit.
All right, then, problem solved.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Now, I want to underscore again something I say all of the time, which is what the number one rule of courtroom behavior is, which is don't honk off the judge. Clearly, the defense counsel could have made them establish the authenticity of the information. Clearly, they could have sought a records request or a records affidavit, and because this is hearsay. This is very clearly hearsay unless it is part of a business record kept and maintained by a Ford Motor Company. And it may very well be that, but clearly they didn't have that because he raised that issue yesterday at trial, and they had to go and research it, and they figured this out, and this is what they brought in. Now, I'm sure the prosecutor would have argued that, this was a discovery violation or whatever, but the bottom line is that because the defense doesn't have a requirement to prove anything, they can ask questions of that nature without actually putting any evidence in on that subject. And so that leaves the state then to go back and rebut it. And could they have done that in the amount of time that they had? Maybe. They probably could have put somebody on a plane, float them up to Detroit, talk to the person at Ford that handled this, get the evidence, and then fly back. But car manufacturers, since they get sued every 10 seconds, generally are pretty antagonistic toward lawyers, all lawyers, and sometimes even prosecutors. So what he did here was the right thing to do, even if it admits this evidence, which sort of contradicts what he put in questioning the witness yesterday. But it was the right thing to do because, again, you don't want to honk off the judge. And the judge would have seen that as a needless distraction, and the judge could have simply said, no, I'm overruling your objection, and let it in anyway, which is what the prosecutor was going for there. And because he realized or saw the handwriting on the wall, or maybe because he knew this judge very well, he knew that wouldn't end well for him, so he did the right thing. It's always nice to see defense attorneys acting collegially and acting appropriately while still trying to protect their client's interest. Next, Mindi's mom testified, and she certainly seems like a very upbeat person for having suffered as much a loss as she did suffer here. And so I wouldn't take anything away from her demeanor here. I think she's trying to put a brave face on it, and she's doing pretty well.
Can you tell us, how was their marriage between 2016 and 2018? Were there any problems?
Objection calls for speculation.
If she knows.
Do you know, ma'am?
I thought they had a good marriage.
So there didn't seem to be any problems, was merely my question. My apologies if that was inartful. Did there come a time when something occurred to make you believe that there was a change in their marriage condition?
Yes, when they actually were sort of hiding out because we were told they feared for their lives.
Who told you that?
Mindi and Nick.
Okay. Did they give you any specifics about why they were fearful of their lives?
Yes, first we were told they'd been hacked. Then we were told another story about Nick was supposed to be working for Microsoft, and he had taken on work for some smaller company underneath Microsoft, and he had solved some kind of an algorithm, and they were giving him company stock, and I guess it was supposed to be, I don't know. That's all I know.
Okay.
After giving a long answer, she then testifies that she didn't know. Now, normally, the proper thing to do in this situation, if you are the defense attorney, is to jump up and say, "Move to strike, Your Honor. She just said she didn't know." And, of course, in that situation, the judge is probably going to strike that testimony. Why didn't he do that? Because the first part of what she said completely supports his defense. Yeah, they told us they were fearful and in hiding. And I don't think she fully understood why, but that was the part that the defense wanted to get in, and the rest of it didn't really matter to the defense, so they're not going to ask to strike it, and they're going to let that sort of bad testimony, or in terms, well, we'll strike it. They're going to let that testimony that she didn't really know about in because it doesn't hurt the defense case. And of course, the prosecution's not going to move to strike it.
Okay. Did he eventually come home?
He did. He came home shortly after I got back.
Can you tell the jury what happened when he got home?
Yes, I heard him come in the door, so I came bouncing out and I was like, "Hey, how's Mindi doing?" And he just started bawling, crying hysterically and talking, and I really couldn't even understand much of what he said. So I said, "Please come out and sit in the living room, the den or whatever, and tell us what's wrong." And so that's when, I mean, all I could really understand was she's not coming home. So,
Is that
and he meant Mindi.
Is that when he told you?
Yes.
And when he said she's not coming home, did you understand what he meant when he first said it?
No, not really. I mean, the way he was crying, I figured it was not good.
Okay.
So,
Did he eventually tell you she died?
yes. And he did not know he didn't know exactly what had happened. He said he'd been texting her all morning and she didn't answer, so he thought she was sleeping.
I have to say, I'm impressed with the counsel for the defense here. He's going to do a cross-examination, and it is a very compassionate cross-examination. He is not he's not trying to make her out to be a liar, because it doesn't do him any good to do that. She is actually supporting part of his defense. And so he approaches her in a way that is not off-putting, and I believe wins him some friends on the jury, because this woman has suffered a terrible loss. You don't want to go in and make it look like she's a liar. What you want to do is, if there is a difference of opinion about a piece of evidence or something, make it look like she's confused or she misunderstood. He doesn't even have to do that to get the information that he really wants to get in. And then, in sort of something I think surprised me, may even have surprised him, she essentially admits, hey, we loved Nick. And again, that is helpful to his defense. Why would he try and hurt these people that loved him? Why would he try and hurt his wife, who he said he loved? Now, the guy could be as evil as the day is long. I don't know. He may have done this. Maybe he didn't do this. I don't know what the situation is. But what I can tell you is the defense is doing a remarkable job in its cross-examinations. Watch this segment.
Let's talk a little bit about your daughter, Mindi.
All right.
Okay. So, Mindi was quite accomplished, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And a very intelligent young woman.
Absolutely.
And you said that your relationship was very close, correct?
Yes.
And Mindi would have no reason to lie to you.
Not that I'm aware of.
And you said that Mindi was in genuine fear for her life, correct?
Yes.
They were moving all over the place, correct?
From what I was told, yes.
From what you were told by Mindi, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Mindi had told you that she and Nick were in danger, correct?
Yes.
And as you said, you believed Mindi.
I did.
And you said Mindi is not a gullible woman.
No.
Or was not, I'm sorry. A gullible woman. When Nick and Mindy got the place in Savannah on, I believe, 65th Street. They at 65th Street, correct?
Yes,
They invited you and your husband, Frank III, to move in with them, correct?
yes.
And may I just ask, why did you move in with them?
Well, we love them for one thing, and we either needed to get our own place, which we were happy doing, or then when they said, they'd have room for us and they'd like us to, we said okay.
I just have to say that was a remarkable piece of work by the defense counsel there. I wish I had a longer period of time to devote to his cross-examination and some of the other evidence that came in on this day, but I try to keep these to a reasonable length, and I'm already well over the part where I would ordinarily stop this video. But again, his mannerisms are good. His legal knowledge is superb, and he has crafted a fairly interesting. I thought it was an unbelievable narrative when he first laid it out on his opening statement. But as we've gone through the trial, there are a lot of things that do feed into that narrative, including the sloppy police investigation, if you believe it was sloppy. And so, again, he's doing a pretty remarkable job for Nick Casotis. That's what I have for you today. I hope you found it helpful, interesting, or maybe both. If there's a subject you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to send me an email at the address above. If you like what we do, please feel free to subscribe and come on back to the beach tomorrow. I release videos every weekday, weather and work permitting. If you have the opportunity today, do a kindness for your fellow man. It makes the world a better place, one kind act at a time. And now, YouTube has some suggestions for other videos of mine that you might like.